So it is producing some heavy rain right now, entering the county of Adair. This polygon does extend out of our area into Jamestown, but these are the two communities that we are going to be focusing on that is in this path of this potential tornado. Now, it has not been confirmed on the ground or on the radar, but we are seeing some rotation with this storm, and it can take less than 60 seconds for a quick spin up here right now. So there's that county line for Adair County. Again, if you're tuning in at 3:10. This is not heading towards Louisville. This is far south, just north of Bowling Green for Adair County. The time right now is 3:10. So we are going to say 2:10 Central Time because this is a Central Time county until 2:45 p.m. Central Time, 3:45 p.m. Eastern Time. So putting a track on where we're seeing this broad rotation, not confirmed on the ground, but again, it can spin up at any moment. This is a tornado warning in place for Adair County. So let's put a track on this system. Glens Fork, I think that is our main community that is in the direct path of this potential storm. So I want you to go ahead and head into the interior portion of your home, either your bathroom, your closet. If you're at work, try to get off the roads and head into maybe a gas station as well. So chance you have until 10:18 p.m. Central Time. Glens Fork, you have until 2:30 p.m. So you have about 20 minutes. It's a slow moving storm. I think the forward speed on it was 25 miles per hour. So it is a slow mover. It could spin up a brief tornado here shortly as this tornado warning is in place for Adair County. Now we have some time. It's going to make its way out of our area eventually. I don't think it's going to head to Taylor County. I don't think it's going to head on that northwest track. It's heading off to the north and northeast. Now, as Alden switches over to velocity, I'm not super impressed, but we also have to take into consideration we're farther away from that radar. So it looks like it was producing some strong winds, and you can see how it kind of weakened. It was having some of that blue colors that really can indicate a potential tornado. But it has shown signs of weakening, so this is good news. Right now we can maybe clock in speeds in that green range, maybe 30, 45 miles per hour. But remember, this is above ground. It could be spinning up these quick spinners in tropical systems. So, I mean, the National Weather Service, we have a hard time really pinpointing these tropical system tornado spinners because they're so small and one can spin up very quickly. So I think it is still very possible that we could have one of a weaker tornado. We're not looking like this system or even throughout the evening of seeing these long tracked large tornadoes. No, they're going to be weak, short-lived, and that's what's unfolding right now. And radar, even technology to this day, sometimes have a hard time really picking it up. So this is that potential area where we are seeing that broad rotation. That is that county line for Adair County, Glens Fork, Columbia. It looks like you are going to miss out on this potential tornado. It looks like it's heading just to the south. In fact, kind of off to the east a little bit. So latest track on that system does show it weakening significantly. And here's that tornado warning that's in place until 3:45 Eastern Time, 2:45 Central Time. But it's a lot of rain with it, a lot of lightning being picked up. So if you happen to see or hear something, you're likely going to have little visibility with this system. So a track on that system, chance until 2:13 p.m. Central Time, and then it's going to head off to Glens Fork here by 2:45 p.m. And it is kind of trending on that southeast track compared to that polygon. So Columbia is right here, and you're just on that edge of that tornado warning. I think you should still stay indoors, especially if you're heading south on 65. If you're tuning in and maybe you're traveling right now, I would go ahead and pull off and try to wait it out, because this storm, you do not want to drive through it, not only from producing some stronger wind gusts, but also that potential tornado threat. Now we have meteorologist Alden Germain here at the Weather Center. Is there any update from the National Weather Service?
The one update we do have is a new tornado watch that's been put out for pretty much the entirety of our viewing area. That goes until midnight tonight. So the entire WHAS 11 viewing area under a tornado watch now until midnight Eastern Time. And that's because of this potential to see some of those tornadoes spinning up like what we're currently seeing down in Adair County at the moment. We're also experiencing, or rather we're in a risk level 3 out of 5 for severe weather. And that's part of the reason also why we had this this tornado watch, excuse me, put out. Another thing that's worth mentioning with that warning is the size of the hail. They're reporting hail about 1.5 inches in diameter, so that is large enough to cause damage to vehicles or siding on your homes. But thankfully, what I'm seeing here is that the circulation is not quite as tight as it was. It's not as robust as it once was either. So that could be a sign that the storm is either weakening or it's cycling, but it's not giving us that typical hook echo signature that we were looking at before. If I put this into motion and take it back an hour, you can see right there is when it was at its strongest before it moved into Adair County, and now as it continues to move into Adair County, it's kind of absorbing a separate cell to the south of it, so that's why it's losing a lot of that strength at the moment. But otherwise, I don't have any reports in chat of a tornado being reported either, nor do I have anything, nor do I see any damage reports.
Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, it is a weaker system. So again, when we're talking about tropical systems, the only time that I've lived through a tornado warning in Florida was associated with tropical systems. So this is very common for post-tropical spin. Our environment, it is spinning out there, right? And when we get that south wind, it could spin up a weaker tornado, a very disorganized one. And this is a very disorganized cell, I do have to say. It doesn't have that classic hook echo, and I don't think we're going to get many of those classic hook echoes throughout the evening. So there's some relief for your friends and your family if you're tuning in and you live in Glens Fork. If it happens to be a tornado, I think it's going to be on that weaker side. This is not an organized cell. However, it could still produce some strong wind gusts with it. I mean, an EF0, EF1 could still produce some damage. So I want you to go ahead and head into the interior portion of your room. This is some heavy rain as well as a lot of lightning with this system. And it's very rare for a storm in a post-tropical system to have that potential to produce hail. So if it does produce hail, that'll be crazy because this is a very warm sector in our atmosphere. So for it to survive all that, that's pretty wild. But we are picking up some pretty red colors. That's indicating some heavy rain and a lot of lightning associated with this system. And it's rotating. I mean, we are in a post-tropical storm, so this is going to have some rotation with it. So this is why we have that main tornado threat, which is why we're under that tornado watch and we're under that upgraded risk throughout the rest of the evening. So track on this system. Columbia, it doesn't look like it's heading your way. You're just missing it to the south, which is good news. But for Glens Fork down to Bryan, just out of our area, those are the main cities that are in the path of this potential tornado. This is a tornado warning that's in place for the next 30 minutes. A lot of rain, a lot of lightning being picked up with some broad rotation. So even though it looks like it's on the weaker side, I still want you to take your precautions, keep the kids inside, keep the dogs inside. Bathroom is always a great place. So decanter until 3:04 p.m. Central Time till 4 o'clock Eastern Time. That's when it's going to start to exit, and hopefully it shows more signs of weakening. The only thing that I fear is that our atmosphere is rotating, so it might not have that opportunity to stop rotating. So these kind of cells can quickly spin up a tornado. Right now, if we go ahead and switch it over to reflectivity to see the latest kind of trends on where we're seeing this broad rotation. I mean, this is very disorganized, a little bit hard to tell. That's what we were watching. That's the reason why it was warned. And it looks like it lost its kind of rotation with it, that kind of tight rotation. So that is good news, continuing to show signs of weakening. We're going to keep you updated if it does happen to spin out. And it looks like it kind of separated a little bit. So very broad rotation. I'm not as concerned with this being something to be concerned with, but it's a tornado warning. We still need to take our precautions. It could be on that weaker side, but it only takes one neighborhood to really feel the impacts of some strong winds. So right now, I think we're clocking in winds around 30 to 40 miles per hour, potentially up to 50. We're clocking in 20 miles per hour. But remember, this is higher up in our atmosphere, 40 miles per hour up in our atmosphere. If we're having a tornado on the ground, it could be a little bit higher, closer to the surface. When we get to our exterior counties, we don't get as much data as if it was closer to that radar site. So it's a little bit farther away. So the farther away you go from the radar site, the higher the radar beams are. So right now what we're picking up is a little bit higher in our atmosphere as compared to if we were looking at Jefferson County. But we are not looking at Jefferson County. This is not heading towards Jefferson County. This is Adair County, the only county that is under a tornado warning in our community. I do want to reiterate that we are only tracking one single tornado warning in Adair County, Kentucky. This is just north of Bowling Green. It is not heading to Taylor County, not going to head to Cane Valley. You guys are in the clear, and I can even say Columbia, I think you're in the clear. You're just on that fringe of that tornado warned storm, that polygon here. So it looks like Glens Fork, you just started to see some of that heavy rain and some lightning, some broad rotation. This cell is kind of falling apart and losing its organization. So broad rotation is what we're seeing right now. This is not confirmed on the ground, and this warning will be until 3:45 Eastern time, 2:45 Central time, unless they say, hey, you know what, it completely weakened. We're not really seeing an immediate threat of a tornado. So it is trending more in that direction. I do have to say, when we're tracking tornadoes, we look at trends. Is it showing signs of weakening? Is it going to recycle? Because if it does recycle, that's when we can get those quick spinners out there right now. So right now, this tornado warning is in effect for Adair County. If you look at the shape of that county line there, soon it's eventually going to be heading out of our area. Alden, I do want to check on the rest of our communities because this is kind of the time of day where we're starting to see some of those fire up individual cells. And what we don't want, okay, yeah, we have another severe thunderstorm warning that was issued. This is just west of our community, including Meade County, tells just east of Leopold, and it's heading to New Amsterdam. So the information on that severe thunderstorm warning, Alden, do you have any of that information that was issued?
Yeah, that goes until 3:45 Eastern time, and the warning is for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and these are moving and only nickel-sized hail, so this is more of a wind threat there, but we're still going to watch that carefully because it does pick up that classic supercell shape there. You have your little hook echo, and it's just for 60-mile-per-hour winds at the moment, so it's on the lower end strength of a severe thunderstorm warning. It's just meeting those basic criteria, but as we head deeper into the afternoon, we are going to be watching the potential for some of those storms to potentially strengthen. This one could grow and end up producing hail at some point, but for right now, it's just for 60-mile-per-hour winds, and it's moving very slowly. A lot of these are moving slowly, which can be a good thing because it means you have plenty of lead time to seek shelter. It can also be a bad thing because it means if you find yourself underneath a hail core, you're going to be underneath that for some time. So assuming it holds together, that would put it in Louisville at 2:30 Central, Andyville at 3:44 Eastern, Wolf Creek at 3:50 Eastern, New Amsterdam at 4:05 Eastern time, and Corydon at 4:38 p.m. Eastern time. So it's moving really slow. So this is just your early heads up that you do have a storm heading your way, but it could also fizzle out in that time too and rain out on itself. But otherwise, I just want to show you again the scope of the severe thunderstorm watch that we have, the tornado watch that we have. That goes until midnight for our entire viewing area there in that pink shade. We only have the two warnings at the moment, that tornado warning that's been trimmed just a bit for the eastern half of Adair County, and that severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Meade County primarily, northern Breckinridge County, southern Crawford County as well. And as for our severe weather risk, that's level 3 out of 5 here. So it does include the core of our viewing area in that orange shade. Main hazards would be some of those brief spin-up tornadoes, torrential rain, and very strong downpours. But I still don't see any real new information coming out here in the chat.
Okay, well, that's good. We're going to have to keep our eyes on that one because it can only take a few minutes for it to spin up and start rotating. So that severe thunderstorm warning, reiterating, that is not for a tornado potential in that storm. However, we have that environment. We are under a level 3, so we have a lot of spin out there. So we're going to keep our eyes on that cell throughout the rest of its life. life. So let's go ahead and get back to that tornado warning that's in place right now for Adair County. It looks like it is weakening, which is good. I've been keeping my eyes on that while Alden was looking at the severe thunderstorm warning, and it is continuing to show signs of weakening. Right now, if we have that potential rotation, it is not even near Glens Fork. It almost took a southward track and east. So this is why we got to take a tornado polygons very seriously, because if you're even at the south side of it, all of a sudden it could change tracks and head off to the east. So Glens Fork, I'm not really seeing any rotation over you right now. This is that broad rotation that's just on that county line right there for Adair County. That's Highway 704. It looks like that broad rotation will be moving in between Glens Fork and Bryan, taking more of that eastward track and up to the north. So not really looking like we have something on the ground here. This is, I think, preventative measure, because we could get those weaker tornadoes that spin up quickly in the kind of environment that we have. So I want you to go ahead and take those precautions. Highway 55 especially, do not travel on this right now. Not only do you have a potential tornado, but you also have some heavy rain heading your way. I mean, this is low visibility, and also that threat of seeing some hail, which in a tropical system you almost never hear of it. So this thunderstorm is pretty tall, has those indications of producing some severe weather right now across Adair County. So the worst of the weather is over Chains right now. Give it about 15-20 more minutes, and then they'll move off to the east and northeast. But it is very slow moving. I mean, the forward speed on this storm is only 25 miles per hour. And when storms start to weaken, it kind of loses that forward speed. So it might be parked over your area, potentially, I would even say longer than that. So a lot of heavy rain. We are going to also start to think about a flash flooding risk for this community, because this is going to get a lot of rain in a short amount of time, as it just started to pick up here over the last 30 minutes, and it looks like it's stalling out. So looking at that rotation, I mean, I'm not really seeing any areas of concern with this tornado warning. I would just say that it is pretty broad. We're also taking into consideration that it is far from the radar site. So closer to the ground, we might get some of those tiny spinners, but if it was something of major concern, it would be showing up right now, and we're just not seeing that. We're just telling you the truth. We're trying to help alleviate any kind of stress when we're talking about tornado warnings and telling you how it is. I think we're going to have to continue to watch this, and I think it was a good idea to go ahead and tornado warn this, because it could recycle here within the next 5 to 10 minutes. We have some spin in our environment from post-tropical Beryl, which is heading our way right now as we speak. We're getting kind of some of that remnants from that storm, those outer bands right now, and we're going to continue to see these pop-up thunderstorms out there. I mean, we have more tornado warnings popping up just west of Bowling Green, and then we have a severe thunderstorm warning just north of Brandenburg. That is not a tornado warning, but we're going to have to keep our eyes on the rotation on that storm, because our environment, it is conducive to producing some spin. Some multiple tornadoes are possible here throughout the rest of the evening. I think around midnight, that's that time window. And Alden, if you could get me to that future cast just to talk about, I mean, it's 3:30. People are tuning in. They're wondering what's going to happen from Beryl, and this is the beginning. This is that forecast model at 5 o'clock. We'll continue to see those isolated pop-up storms that could produce some rotation. So this is going to be a few more hours of potentially dealing with rotating storms. Could peak around 10 o'clock tonight, and then as we head towards midnight, most of those storms will start to exit off in Ohio and northern Kentucky around Cincinnati. So from now until 1 a.m., I think that's going to be the window of concern. It's not going to be an overnight event past 1 o'clock. I think that's when things are going to start to die down. And behind this system, we're going to have some lingering rain and some clouds, but the threat of seeing tornadoes really is until midnight. This is that tornado watch that was just issued 30 minutes ago. This does include the majority of our counties, excluding Bedford and Seymour areas, but Jefferson County as well, you are under a tornado watch until midnight tonight. we are dealing with the remnants of post-tropical Beryl. A lot of our atmosphere is spinning right now. So when we get a thunderstorm with a lot of warm temperatures, it could fire up a quick spinner. Now, tropical systems are that can produce tornadoes on the weaker side. There's not a lot of organization. We're talking about a rotating post-tropical system. So that's why we're not really concerned with long-tracked, large tornadoes. The environment is just not organized enough. And this is a very good example of what we could see here through the next 5+ hours until midnight. So the storms, they're rotating, but they're having a hard time staying organized because I think there's just too much wind. And yes, there is such a thing of having too much wind to have an organized large tornado. So right now, continuing to show signs of weakening. This tornado warning is in effect for 15 more minutes. For the Glens Fork area, definitely losing a lot of its speed and momentum. A lot of that heavy rain it was producing started to weaken. So it is showing some signs of weakening for Adair County. Columbia, you are in the clear. Kane Valley, you are in the clear. Tyler County, I don't think it's going to head your way. It's heading off to the east and more of an eastward track than initially thought. We thought it was going to be a little bit to the north, but it's staying on that east northeast track right now. Dunville, I think, is that next target area, and that's outside of our county. So if you have any friends in those communities, just give them a heads up. Hey, there's a potential tornado heading your way. For this tornado warning that's in place. Alden, is there any updates from the National Weather Service? Are you thinking that it's on that weaker trend?
Yeah, it looks like it's shrinking, and the Weather Service is currently, they're about to give us an update in the chat, so I'm going to wait to see what they have to say. But they do believe it could be trying to consolidate, meaning that it could be trying to go through its life cycle and re-strengthen. But for right now, it's on the weaker edge and mostly just affecting southern Adair County. Tornado warning itself is for the eastern half of Adair County. That goes for about another 15 minutes or so till 2:45 Central Time. And then it'll be moving out of our viewing area. But haven't really seen much in the way that looks like rotation of concern, just your typical thunderstorm rotation. All of these storms always have a little bit of rotation with them. The question is just how much are they rotating, and is that rotation actually going to make it to the ground? But wind speeds haven't looked very impressive either. It has been producing quite a bit of rain. It has also had a good deal of lightning with it, but even the lightning count has decreased quite a bit. You can see how much that lightning has weakened over just the last hour. So could be weakening at the moment, could also be trying to consolidate into something greater. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that, but it's moving very slowly. So Craycraft, Joppa, you will probably see some of that very heavy rain. Christine, you're on the northern edge of it. Sano, right there on the Adair County line, also in the middle of the warning. You should be keeping a close eye for this storm to potentially redevelop, but as of right now, it's not really showing any signs of extreme tornadic activity.
That's good. I'm also keeping an eye on the severe thunderstorm warning in the more populated area. There is some broad rotation being picked up with it, but it's not concerning of producing a tornado. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the Louisville area and cover some other areas as we continue to keep our eyes on that tornado warning. But we also want to think about the community near Meade County heading towards Harrison County right now. This is a weaker storm, but we're going to be watching it closely because, again, we have a lot of spin in our environment thanks to Beryl, so it does not take much. A severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for the next 30 minutes. It looks like it's a very weak, small cell, but right there, if we continue to get some of those south winds, that's where it's going to start to formulate maybe a little bit. So this is our main concern here. If you live in the Louisville area, Harrison County, New Amsterdam, Leavenworth, this is the only cell that we're watching of immediate concern here for the next 30 to 40 minutes. So this is a severe thunderstorm warning. This is not a tornado warning, but it is in place until 4 o'clock later Eastern time. So if we can go ahead and put a track on it, it is going to eventually head its way to Corydon. This is on that weaker side, but it is producing some broad rotation with this cell. So go ahead and look at this track because it will be eventually heading to some populated areas. Corydon around 4:30 Eastern time. You have some time though, about an hour. It's a slow moving cell, and then eventually to Greenville, and then looking like it's going to trend north of the river compared to south of the river towards Louisville right now. So that
and I do have a new update from the Weather Service
Okay.
here. They're probably going to cancel that tornado warning early.
Good.
Just because the hail signature is not looking as strong as it was, and they also just don't see anything that looks very tornadic at the moment. So now it's just a typical very strong thunderstorm, but not looking as dangerous as it was earlier. As I'll zoom back down here a little bit. Yeah, just don't see any of that rotation really within it. Some gusty winds for sure, some torrential downpours and a little bit of hail, but not nearly as strong as it once was. So they are likely going to allow that tornado warning to expire, or they will cancel it early here soon.
Okay, good. I mean, it's supposed to expire in 11 minutes, so that'll be even better if they go ahead and cancel it, because it hasn't been producing some indications of a potential tornado. Yes, it's producing some stronger wind gusts around 30 to 40 mile per hour range, but Glens Fork, that is good news for you, because now it is a much weaker system. They're going to go ahead and let this tornado warning expire or cancel. So showing some signs of weakening, not really a concern of an imminent threat of a tornado in Adair County. So that is good news. The storm is weakening. Yes, it's still producing some heavy rain, and Columbia, it looks like you're just missing it off to the south and southeast. So the time right now is 3:35 p.m. It's set to expire in 10 minutes, but usually when they give us the heads up, we can go ahead and say, we're not as concerned with this cell anymore. It's no longer tornado warned in a sense, even though we still see the polygon. It is showing signs of weakening, and we're not seeing an imminent threat to the community of Glens Fork. I still think you should probably stay off the roads, probably stay inside, just in that off chance that it does recycle and happen to produce something. But in the scenario that it happens, we are going to let you know here on WHAS 11. So that is the only tornado warned area that's going to expire in our community right now for Adair County. So this is good news. But Alden, the night is young, and we have a lot more to talk about. There is a tornado watch in place here until midnight. This is until midnight, guys. So we have a long time, 6+ hours of potentially dealing with these cells that can rotate. This is our impacts from Beryl. I know the Texas coast got a Cat 1 hurricane, and then I really started transitioning to more of a tornado threat. I mean, there was 10+ tornado warnings at a time through the state of Louisiana and Texas. Then it started to weaken slightly, and thankfully it did weaken over Kansas. But now that we have the daytime heating and we kind of have the ingredients here, the tornado watch is until midnight. And this is what we're talking about, those cells that are going to continue to fire up. And when we have that tropical system, that low is counterclockwise moving, it produces a lot of spin in our environment, which is why these cells can produce tornadoes quickly, and we can have multiple of them. So that's why we're under that level 3 risk throughout the rest of the evening. Yes, they could be on the weaker side. They're more short-lived in tropical systems, but they're still something to take seriously, which is why we have a team here to keep you updated. So that tornado warning is going to expire for Adair County. I don't think there's an imminent threat of seeing any tornadoes across our area. Right now, there's that severe thunderstorm warning north of Brandenburg. That's going to expire here shortly, and it's not showing any signs of producing a tornado, which is why it's not tornado warned. We're also watching these other cells that's going to eventually make its way near Grayson and Breckenridge County, where that tornado warning is in place. So just know it could be an active night, but I do want to let you have that kind of safety in the back of your mind that they're short-lived and they're on the weaker side in this environment. However, I'm not ruling out to have that one tornado that could hit your neighborhood that could become strong. So yes, it is a tropical system that we're dealing with, but we're going to continue to keep you updated here at WHAS 11. Alden, is there anything you would like to add? That tornado warning is going to expire, so not releasing an immediate threat.
No, nothing else to add there. Once that warning is done, they're not even going to put out a new severe thunderstorm warning for it. So now we'll just be tracking the stuff off to our west and see how that develops over the coming hours.
All right, so stay tuned for the rest of the evening. We have WHS 11 news at 4 here coming up, 5 and 6 o'clock, and we are going to cut in if we see any more threats of tornadoes. We are tracking post-tropical Beryl here at WHS 11. Stay updated with us.
Old yet, people?